Hello BookTube, my name is Adrian and today I am bringing you my unhaul for 2018. So if you have been around my channel for a while, you may know that at the end of every year, my family goes on a trip together. Instead of getting each other Christmas presents, we go on a Christmas trip where we go take one weekend where we all go to St. Louis for the weekend because it is the closest major city to us. And we go to a place called Dave & Buster's, which is kind of like the adult version of Chuck E. Cheese. And one of the things that we do on that weekend is we make a point to go to half-price books. That is because my sister and my dad and I are all very avid readers and we love going to bookstores just to look around. And one thing that I tend to do at the end of every year is over the course of the year, as I read books that I don't enjoy or books that I just don't want to own anymore for various reasons, I collect them and keep them, and then at the end of the year when we go to half-price books, I sell them to half-price books, and then I use the money that I get from selling those books to half-price books to purchase one or two of my favorite books of the year. So that is my plan again this year, and so today I am going to show you all of the books that I'm taking to St. Louis with me to unhaul. I believe there are over 30 books, and I'm not necessarily going to give a big long explanation about these books and like what they're about or why I'm getting rid of them. So I may do a little quick reason why I'm getting rid of them, but I'm probably not going to go too in depth. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into all of the books I'm unhauling. So the first three things that I am unhauling are actually some textbook type things that I think maybe half-price books will take. We will see, because technically they are in St. Louis. But I am going to be giving them this ILTS State Academic Proficiency Secret Study Guide, Illinois Tap Math Study Book, and the Illinois License Testing System Test for Academic Proficiency Study Guide. These are all three books that help you study and prepare for the Illinois TAP test, which is the test that you have to take if you plan to become a teacher in the state of Illinois. There was a stretch of time in my life where I was planning to be a high school or middle school English teacher. That ended up not happening. In my third year of college, I was preparing to start all of the education courses. I had taken a couple of education courses before that had us in classrooms teaching, and I didn't love the experience of actually being in a classroom. I learned from that experience that I liked teaching, but I liked it doing it more one-on-one, or just more so being in a communication setting, so more as a student being able to talk and discuss rather than a teacher. So I brought my education in portion of my degree and worked on getting my degree in English. I never did finish that degree because I ended up getting pregnant in my third year of college, and decided that I didn't want to finish my degree yet. Someday I may, but right now I'm more worried about my kids and just being there for them. So that being said, because I'm not planning to be a teacher anymore, I'm getting rid of these textbooks. I don't need them. And so I don't know if half-price books will take them because A, they're textbooks, and B, we're going to a half-price books in Missouri, not in Illinois. So I don't know if they'll take these. If they don't, that's fine. I'll sell them some other way. If they do take them, awesome. The next book here that I have to show you may be confusing to you, but I will explain this one as to why I'm getting rid of it. And the next book I am unhauling is Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. So I own 2 copies of this book, and so I am unhauling one of them and getting rid of it. Frankly, the main reason I have 2 copies of this book is because I ordered the Fake Crate Hangover box, and it came with an option that you could purchase the book, and it came with a signed book plate for that book. I purchased the box with the book in it because I wanted the signed book plate. This copy is the book copy that came in Fake Crate because it was the because I had already, actually when I got Fake Crate, I had already finished reading this book and annotating my original copy that I had purchased. But I wanted the signed book plate. So this copy is blank. It does not have the book plate in it. It is just a completely fresh first edition copy of Queen of Air and Darkness. I am going to unhaul this one and keep my original copy that has the signed book plate in it. Is that cheating? Probably. But I paid for this book already, so I'm gonna sell it. So that's why I'm getting rid of this one. My husband did not feel I needed 2 copies of the book, but he loves me enough to let me order the box anyway. But we came to the decision that I should unhaul this one because I don't need 2 copies of this amazing book. Up next, we have this paperback copy of Eldest by Christopher Poloni. I am getting rid of this book because I got the hardback copy of it last year, and so, or maybe 2 years ago, I got that copy at Half Price Books before, so I no longer need my beaten up paperback. I assume that I will get next to nothing for this book because it is taped together on the back. It's not in great condition, so I assume I won't get anything from this, but I'm going to take it anyway because I don't need it anymore. Up next, we have a copy of Hearken by Caleb Nation. This is a book that I purchased when it came out. I actually was part of the Kickstarter for this book to get it published. It is signed by the author, and in the very back of the book is all of the names of the people who helped kickstart this book, and my name is back there. So that is cool and all, but I have had this book since it came out, and I am never going to read it. I have no interest in reading it. Let's see, when was this book published? This book was published in 2013. I have no intention of reading this book, so I'm going to unhaul it, and maybe somebody else will find this and actually want to read it. The next 2 books are the first 2 books in a series, and those are Deep Blue and Rogue Wave by Jennifer Donnelly. I have read the first book, Deep Blue, in this series, and I honestly don't remember much about it. I feel like I gave it like a 3-star rating, and it just wasn't my favorite book, and I really have no interest in continuing on in the series. I purchased Rogue Wave before I actually read Deep Blue because I thought I would really enjoy it, and so now I have no interest in reading these. I have also learned that Jennifer Donnelly is just an author whose writing I don't mesh well with, where most of her stories I read the synopsis and think it's going to be a great book and that I'll really love it, and then I read the story and it's a fine story, but the writing just isn't for me. So these are the next 2 books that I am getting rid of. The next book I am unhauling is 1,000 Nights by E.K. Johnston. This book has been on many a TBR for me. I purchased this book when it was brand new a couple years back in 2015. And I have just never gotten around to reading this book. It's just not a book that interests me anymore, and so I am going to give it rid of it, and hopefully somebody else will be able to get some enjoyment out of this book. The next books I have are a trilogy, and I am unhauling all of the books in this trilogy. Those books are Matched, Crossed, and Reached, all by Ali Condi. These are all books that I have read, all of them, and I actually really loved the first book, Matched, and then after that the series just wasn't quite as good as the first book. Don't get me wrong, I did enjoy these books, but I have no intention of reading them again, and if I do, I'll probably get them from my library, and I don't feel the need to have these books taking up space on my shelves. No matter how gorgeous I do find these covers and these spines to be, I just don't want them on my shelves anymore. Up next, I have another trilogy that has actually made some appearances on my channel before, and those books are Across the Universe, A Million Suns, and Shades of Earth by Beth Revis. These books have made appearances on my channel before because of the fact that the last book in this series does not match the rest of the books. And that has been a point of contention for me, where it just drove me insane because they have these gorgeous spines on the original 2, and then the 3rd one doesn't match. And it just bothers me a lot, and it was like a big thing I mentioned pretty often at the beginning of this channel. So I'm finally unhauling these, not because necessarily just because the cover bothers me, but because I have read the first book and it was okay. I didn't super love it, and I never bothered to read the next 2. So I decided that I'm going to unhaul them because I have no interest in reading them. I'm not really a sci-fi person, so these books don't interest me anymore, so I'm going to unhaul them. Up next on this unhaul, I have Teardrop by Lauren Kate. This is a book that I have attempted to read several times. I purchased it a while back thinking that I was going to really love it, and then I ended up not being able to read it. I think I got about probably 50 pages into this book and just couldn't finish it. It just was not a book for me. It was not something that interests me, and I DNF'd this book, and so I'm getting rid of it now. The next 3 books I'm getting rid of are 3 books in a series, and I feel like I'm probably going to get a lot of hate from this one, but that's okay. The next 3 books I am unhauling are Cinder, Scarlet, and Cress by Marissa Meyer. I am unhauling these 3 books because I'm just not interested in them. I read the first book, Cinder, 2 or 3 times now, and I really loved it the first time I read it, and then the other times I read it I just didn't love it as much because there are a lot of situations where there are no winning these situations, and those situations stress me out and they're not something I'm very interested in. I've attempted to read Scarlet 2 or 3 times and never gotten more than a quarter way through the book, and so while I know people say that Cress is actually the best book, I think I'm going to unhaul these, and if I plan to read them I will get the audiobooks from online somewhere, whether that be on Audible or from my library, and then I will read them that way. But in the meantime, I don't want to own these because I'm not interested in reading them and they're just taking up space on my shelf, and I will get rid of them, and so hopefully someone else can enjoy them who, you know, will actually enjoy them. Up next, I have another trilogy, which is a series that I read quite a while ago and really enjoyed at the time, but I just have no interest in reading them again or owning them, and those books are Personal Demons, Original Sin, and Last Rite, all by Lisa Doshers. That's not how you pronounce her name, I'm sure. I read all of these books back when I was a senior in high school, and I really enjoyed these books. However, in hindsight, these books are trash books. They are completely dorky. It's about a girl who is the chosen one, and where an angel and a demon are sent to get her and get them to win them to their side. She ends up falling in love with them and then has to choose between them, and they fight for her, and it's completely a trash book. So yeah, that was these books. I liked them at the time. I have no intention of rereading them, and so I'm going to unhaul them. Up next on my unhaul, I have this signed copy of Lullaby by Amanda Hocking. This is a book that I picked up because I had read the first book, Wake, and really enjoyed it, and so when I saw this signed copy was available, I went ahead and picked it up as well. I will be honest and say I have had this book for probably 5 or 6 years, and I have no intention of reading this book, just to be honest. So I'm going to go ahead and unhaul it because I'm never going to read it, so it shouldn't take up space on my shelves. The next 3 books I have are also a trilogy, and the 3 books in this trilogy are Eyes Like Stars, Perchance to Dream, and So Silver Bright, all by Lisa Manchev. I read this first book, Eyes Like Stars, a long time ago, and I really enjoyed it. It's a very interesting story and way of storytelling. However, I don't think I am going to ever continue on with the series, and so these covers are beautiful and the story is interesting and the writing style is gorgeous. I'm just never going to read them, so I'm going to unhaul them so that they are not taking up space on my shelf that could go to other books on my shelves. Up next, we have Because You Love to Hate Me by multiple authors. This is an anthology that was written by authors and booktubers in collaboration. Short story collections don't tend to do anything for me. I don't love them. It usually takes me a really long time to get through them, and there are no authors on this list where I'm like dying to read their story. So I'm gonna unhaul this one. Up next on my unhaul, we have a duology that it was very well loved on BookTube back when it first came out, and so we're gonna go ahead and talk about those. The next 2 books I have are Passenger and Wayfarer by Alexandra Bracken. These 2 books are books that I have read. I have read Passenger, I have not read Wayfarer. I read Passenger early this year, and I just didn't love it, honestly. It just was not for me, and so I'm going to unhaul these books because I'm never going to read them, so they're not going to take up space on my shelf anymore. The next 3 books I have here are a trilogy. I have Rebel Belle, Miss Mayhem, and Lady Renegades. These books are all written by Rachel Hawkins, and I actually did really enjoy this series. The first book I thought was pretty good, the second book I absolutely loved, and the third book was just kind of okay. And so I am going to unhaul these because it took me a really long time to get through this series, and because of that and my okay rating for it, I determined that I'm never going to read these again, and while they are gorgeous, I have no need to keep them on my shelves, so I'm going to unhaul these as well. Up next, we have Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. This is the second book in the Red Queen series. I read the first book, Red Queen, and thought it was okay. I didn't super love it. I got the physical copy of the second book. I do not own the first one, And I am probably not going to ever read this book. It's just not something that interests me. I have a hard time finishing out series anyways, especially if the first book wasn't that interesting. So I'm probably never going to read this, and as a result, I'm going to unhaul this book, especially because I only own the second one and none of the other books in the series. So this one is going to go as well. And the last book we have that I am going to be unhauling is The Light Between Oceans by L.M. Stedman. This is a book I've owned for a very, very long time, and I still do have a slight interest in reading it, but I know that I'm never going to read this physical copy, and so I have decided that I am going to unhaul my physical copy and just read an audiobook of it, or listen to an audiobook of it, because that's the only way this book is ever going to get read. So while the premise of this book does still interest me, I have no interest in keeping the physical copy of this book at all. Okay, so I lied. There are a couple more books that I am also going to go ahead and unhaul now. So the next one that I am going to unhaul is I'll See You in Paris by Michelle Gable. This is a book that I read back in August when I was doing my 31 and 31 challenge. I believe I read this on day 2. This book was interesting, but it is not a book that I plan to read again, nor is it a book that I loved enough to keep on my shelves. So I am going to unhaul this one. This is an adult fiction novel, which I don't read very much of anyway, so this one's going to go. And then the next 2 books that I am going to unhaul are a duology, and those are 99 Days and 9 Days and 9 Nights by Katie Coutugno. I have read this 99 Days book. I have read this book twice, and I have read 9 Days and 9 Nights, and while I did enjoy 9 Days, I just did not like 9 Days and 9 Nights. It rubbed me very wrong. It bothered me a lot. There were just things that were dealt with in that book that were, I felt, not handled in a great manner. I know a lot of people don't agree with me on that, but that's fine. So because I liked 99 Days, I thought I was going to keep these books, but I don't think I'm ever going to read these books again. Alright guys, so that is all of the books that I am getting rid of. I think you might be able to see the stack that's right here. I am now surrounded by books. So let's go ahead and count really quick and see how many books are actually going. 37 books. I am getting rid of 37 books. That is a really high number, but all of these books I'm sure will ultimately go to very good homes for people who actually want to read them, which I am not a person who's interested in reading these books at all or again. And so all of these books are going to go. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will probably post a vlog about our weekend maybe, or it will be in another video where you guys can see what books I ended up purchasing with the money that I get from these books. So if you guys are interested in that, I will, whenever that video goes up, I will link down below that so that you can see it if you're interested. So that is all I have for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.